When it first aired, Steven Universe seemed like any other kids' show about a boy with superpowers and his trio of alien sidekicks having goofy adventures. As it went on, though, the storyline gave showrunners a fantasy framework for talking and thinking about identity, family, and LGBTQ issues in a meaningful way. Here's the truth about Steven Universe. The title character Steven is a charming, chubby, curly-haired kid who's pretty sure all the universe's problems could be solved if we all just sat down and talked about them. He's got such an honest and resonating personality that you just know he must be based on someone real, and he is. Not only was Steven inspired by show creator Rebecca Sugar's younger brother Steven, but the real Steven actually works on the show as a background artist. Sugar told Entertainment Weekly that at its core, the show is about her brother and the feeling she had growing up that he was a friend who would always be there for her. Of course, the real Steven doesn't have magic powers, a family of immortal alien gemstone creatures, and a pet lion, but that's beside the point. The action, the fantasy, the space travel, and the gender politics are really just the very important backdrop for Sugar's main source of inspiration. If Steven Universe seemed a little familiar to you the first time you watched it, that probably has something to do with its heritage. Rebecca Sugar used to work on another Cartoon Network program you might have heard of called Adventure Time, which is also a weird fantasy story about a boy who wants to save the world. Sugar wrote 21 episodes of Adventure Time, including several focused on Marceline, the Vampire Queen, and credits the show with teaching her how to make television with universal appeal. She was also responsible for a lot of the music on the series. She had a hand in some of its classic songs, such as the Emmy-nominated Daddy, Why Did You Eat My Fries?, a ballad sung by a 1,000-year-old vampire to her green-skinned, pointy-eared Lord of Evil father. In 2018, she even briefly returned to the show to write a song for Adventure Time's final episode. You only have to watch a couple of episodes of Steven Universe to know that it's unique, and that's reflected in its legacy of firsts. According to the AV Club, it was the first Cartoon Network program to have a woman creator, it featured the first ever same-sex wedding on a children's TV show, and it was the first kids show to feature a gender non-binary character who uses they/them pronouns. If you're still reeling from all that progressiveness, it's worth noting that the show presents its ideas about gender through the lens of a fantasy universe. The same-sex wedding was between two characters who belong to an alien race called gems, which has only a single gender, if you can even call it gender, since the gems are essentially living rocks in humanoid form. That should soften the blow for someone who might otherwise have a problem with a same-sex wedding on a kids' show. Of course, these days, that's not really a blow that should still need softening. Same for the gender non-binary character, whose name is Stevani. Stevani is a fusion, or a single entity created by combining the forms of two other characters, seen commonly from gems like Garnet. In Stevani's case, the fusion is between Steven and his human best friend Connie, who appears as a combination between the two characters formed from the fun they have while dancing together. As long as you're going to have a kids show that tackles gender identity, you might as well go all out into other issues that most kids shows have never in a million years thought to bring up on screen. The gem fusions, for instance, aren't just incredibly powerful combined forms, they're also clearly a metaphor for romantic relationships. But sometimes that can get pretty troubling. In one episode, an evil gem named Jasper forces Lapis Lazuli into a fusion in a pretty clear allegory for abuse.
Let's stay on this miserable planet together!
Grief and loss play a big part in the show, too. Steven's mother gave up her physical form to bring him into the world, so he's constantly living in the shadow of someone who is loved by everyone around him, but who he never had the opportunity to know. There are less heavy discussions on things like non-traditional families. Steven is being raised by 3 women, and his father, though present, does not live with him. There's even a polyamorous relationship in the form of a gem called fluorite. If that seems like it might be a little too much for a kids show, keep in mind that there's no real discussion of exactly what a polyamorous relationship is, or how complicated that might get. It's simply a footnote. Fluorite explains that she's a fusion between 6 different gems.
6? Maybe more if we meet the right gem.
You probably don't have to be told that the mere existence of Steven Universe really irks a lot of people, especially since it's literally made for children. It's gotten plenty of criticism from socially conservative sites complaining that it has a pro-gay agenda, although the response from fans is usually something along the lines of, yeah, so what? In fact, a 2015 Change.org petition complained that same-sex relationships is not a topic that should be discussed in children's programming. It got a whopping 151 signatures. Maybe it's just that Steven Universe is just too quirky and sweet for people to stay mad at if they sit down to watch it. Maybe the portrayal of same-sex relationships on the show has just enough elements of sci-fi and fantasy for it to slip under the radar. Or maybe we finally gotten to a point where showing two ladies dancing with each other until they combine to form a giant woman just isn't that big a deal, so to speak. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.